What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 69 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My
Hey.
name is Dave Knittel, and I'm here, as always, with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. Christian, say hello.
I will say hello.
There you go.
Hello.
That's Christian. Beard is looking nice, Christian, I gotta say.
It's fierce.
Yes, looking very fierce. Matt, how are you doing? Or no, not how you're doing, but just say hello so people can see what you look like.
Hello.
That's what Matt looks like. All right, we are prepared as always and ready to just jump right into things here. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 69 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, and I am here with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. Christian, how are you doing today?
I'm just doing great, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Wow, thank you so much for
I
asking.
can't believe I just did that. That was
that was
weird.
Very polite.
Well, it's
and
because
very...
usually I have something else to say and then I forget to ask you. But this time I'm just doing well. Actually, I could say some other things. So let me say some other things. I've been in California for 2 weeks and it was really, really beautiful and fun. Liverpool and Salah just lit up the world yesterday. And, you know, things are just going well.
Yeah, you loving life. How did you enjoy San Diego?
San Diego was amazing. Really is a city that everyone who's listening to this should go to. It is really worth it. And the pandas at the zoo are the greatest thing ever.
All right. Somebody's coming with lots of energy. Love it. Love it. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dave. I'm happy the week's over. I don't know if this was like with you guys, but I feel like I just had the longest week of my life. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just coming back from break. And everyone I was talking to agreed with me, but I was seeing if you guys felt that way.
Everyone you talked to was also probably coming back from break.
It felt like a pretty decently long week. It's because the hour we lost on sleep, you know? It just it fucks with our schedule.
So it felt longer because of that? We lost an hour.
Yeah, so like you just want to get to sleep every night and it's just so far away, so it just feels like the days.
All right, you can't argue that logic. Can't argue that logic. I'm doing well. It felt like a long week for me too. So wife and I, Kristen, went down to Central California. For the listeners, they might not know who Kristen is. That's why I said wife. I know you guys know who Kristen is.
I wasn't. That was not why I made the face. I made the face because you were on vacation. I don't know how it was a long week.
Yeah, no. When you leave and get out of your routine, sometimes it can just feel like a longer week. We were running around doing a lot of different things. No, you don't feel that way? All right, maybe it's just me, but it felt like a longer week.
Probably just you.
Yeah, we were doing all kinds of different things, and it was awesome. We really enjoyed our time along the central coast of California. But enough about us. Christian, do you have our trivia question for this week?
I do have our trivia question. So do you guys know who has given the ball up or turned it over more times in a single Champions League match?
Since when? Just forever?
In the Champions League era.
Okay, since 92, 93?
Yep.
The most turnovers. Okay, I have a guess, but I do not know.
In one game?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, we will think that over, and listeners,
who's beeping? Who's beeping over there?
I'm not sure who's beeping. It's not me.
Yeah.
Matt just took his headphones off.
Yeah, I think it was something downstairs, but it stopped.
Okay, hopefully it's not a fire alarm or anything like that.
Yeah, we don't need a whole other fire alarm situation going on with another brother.
If Matt disappears during this podcast, listeners, just know he had to evacuate. So we will think over that trivia question, as will you. We will reveal the answer at the end of this podcast. Before we get into our topics here, we wanted to give a quick shout out to StadiumScene.com. So Stadium Scene is a travel guide for sports fans. Just this past week, I went to a Sharks game at the I want to call it Oracle Arena, but I know that that's not right. It's SAP Center. Yeah. I live right next to it. I couldn't remember. So I checked out Stadium Scene.
You can see the sign from your window.
I know, but I forgot. I'm in the middle of something, I just words escape me at times. So, but before I went to the game, I consulted Stadium Scene to figure out which restaurants and things to do around the stadium. So, ended up going to San Pedro Square, which is a market around there, and got some beers and some drinks and some food. So overall, it was just a great time. So Stadium Scene has, parking recommendations, restaurants, bars, and all of that stuff. Christian, what would you like to say?
I just want to say that I asked you to go to a game when I was out there and you turned me down. So
yeah, because I would have had to pay for it. So this was free.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, back to Stadium Scene. So everyone, you should go check out Stadium Scene because they have bars, restaurants, things to do in and around stadiums all across the U.S. So it's not just hockey, not just soccer. They have all the American sports. So you definitely want to go check them out. In addition to that, they partner with content creators like us on StadiumScene.tv. So they have about 15 different partners at this point, putting out videos, blog posts, Instagram posts, podcasts, and all of that stuff. So we're on there along with a bunch of other people for a bunch of different sports. So go check them out. They're awesome. StadiumScene.tv and StadiumScene.com. Couple quick plugs for my projects. I have a simplified fantasy soccer website called Fan Futsal that makes it easier for all soccer fans to play fantasy soccer. So go check that out. I'm not going to tell you too much more about it. FANFUTSAL.com. It's a lot of fun. So go check that out. And lastly, I have a YouTube channel called the Soccer Tavern YouTube channel where we're making videos about the history, culture, and philosophy of the beautiful game. So go search for that on YouTube. Christian, something you would like to add?
No, it's just funny. You can't say we are. It's just every time you try.
Yeah, well, I always try to rush through this because every time I try to take my time.
I was waiting for you to finally say the question, and then I was going to say, "Are you sure you're done talking?" I was waiting for my opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I try to rush through that, which makes me slip up. So thank you for all of that. Let's get to our topics this week, listeners. Enough banter between us. So our first topic we wanted to talk about is the Greek League suspended operations after the PAOK president invaded the pitch with a gun this past weekend. So we will link to the article. Christian, what did you make of this entire situation?
What the hell? Why? First of all, like when you think of Europe, you don't really think of guns. Like you think compared to at least America where we are, that you don't expect that type of violence over there. And for an owner, like someone who is the head of a club, literally owns the club, correct? He is the owner?
Correct. Yeah, owner and president, I believe.
Yeah. It is absurd and completely uncalled for. I don't really know I honestly don't know what was going on behind the scenes, what caused this all to break out. But no. Like what on earth? What?
All right, I can set it up a little bit better. So for those who may not know, PAOK was playing, I think, Olympiacos. Whoever is in first in Greece, I'm going to guess Olympiacos because they're
it was AEK.
Oh, AEK Athens.
Yeah.
Their scarf right here. So they were playing AEK Athens, who was in first in the Greek league by 7 points a couple days ago, and that was because PAOK had some sort of points deduction. And so what ended up happening was the points deduction was reversed a couple days before the game. So they were only 4 points behind AEK. And then during the match, PAOK scored a goal in the 89th minute to basically win the match. And that would have meant they would have only been 1 point behind AEK. The goal was then ruled out for offside. And all hell broke loose. This guy stormed the pitch or whatever. They got it calmed down. And then everybody left, and then something happened yet again, and then the guy came back, this time with a gun and his 3 bodyguards. The ref pieced out. Eventually, the game was canceled. Then the refs reversed their decision, awarded the goal. So I don't exactly know what the heck happened at the end of it. I just know basically the Greek League is now fully suspended. So that is a little bit of background for listeners. The article has more background. Matt, wanted to get your thoughts here.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I thought like maybe he didn't realize he had the gun on his hip, but like my original thought was, how do they get it into the stadium? Because like here, I feel like you could not really get a gun into a stadium, and especially him as like the president. It just like threw me completely off guard. I never thought I would hear this coming out of the Greek League. Yes, and like the thing in the article that like I was like, yeah, the police are looking for him now. So I'm like, did he like flee the scene? Like he just walked home after, and like nobody did anything about this. So that was like the part that really threw me off.
Yeah, apparently, I think he's a pretty bad dude. Like he's got some ties to some organizations and things like that, and so he, I think, maybe might be above the law from what I'm reading and understanding a little bit about the Greek League. So, yeah, this was just a crazy story all the way around. Christian, other thoughts to add here?
It's just mind-boggling that because your team isn't going to win the title, and that's not even official. That is just a possibility because a goal is ruled out in the 89th minute, That probably happens to every single team at least once every single season. This is the first I've ever heard of anything like this happening. What goes through someone's head that they think, okay, I'm pissed off. I'm going to go threaten the ref with a gun now. Well, it is a game of soccer at the end of the day. That is what it is. And I understand there's a lot of money in the game for winning titles and making the Champions League and all that stuff. But no, just no.
I mean, he was doing it to get the call overturned, and it seemed like it may have worked.
It did seem like it worked. That's true.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe you'll see other managers and owners start doing that.
Soccer's going to get a lot more interesting.
That is for sure. Yeah,
Podcast name.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I really don't have much else to add. Obviously, this can't be tolerated and this needs to be done away with. But I mean, you do see stuff like this. I mean, you always hear crazy stories about what's going on in Brazil sometimes where, referees are sometimes threatened and gunned down. And you never want to see stuff like this, especially from the Greek league, which is, I mean, it's in UEFA. They have their teams go into the Champions League. I mean, it's not just like a backwoods type of league. I know that they have their issues, but this stuff just simply can't happen. And they really need to get their act together. So that's my thoughts. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Christian, you?
I'm good.
Okay. Next topic we wanted to talk about here is another kind of disgraceful incident. Jamie Carragher, for those who haven't seen the video, we will have it linked to in our podcast show notes. But he was driving down the highway after United beat Liverpool 2-1 last weekend. A guy in a car with his daughter seemed to either be a United fan or just wanted to kind of give Jamie some stick. Yeah. Just basically said, hey, 2-1 Jamie, unlucky. And he was kind of laughing or whatever. Carragher then rolled down his window and spit at the guy's car, coming through the guy's window and hitting his daughter. Don't really know what was going through Carragher's head, but Matt, what do you make of Carragher doing this? And should Carragher be fired from his job as a pundit, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely uncalled for, especially, he's 40 now. I think he's just got to act his age, and that's just really unprofessional. I mean, it's a game. He doesn't play for Liverpool anymore. I mean, yeah, it's tough. And he said people were egging him on a couple times before that. He said 4 or 5 people must have done it as he was driving, but that's still completely uncalled for. You can't be lashing out like that. And I still don't think he should be fired necessarily because it had nothing to do with work. And I think the suspension's fine. And he knows this was his first outburst.
Yeah, it's inexcusable at any age, but yeah, because I know you said the fact that he's 40. I mean, it's inexcusable if a 20-year-old did this. I don't really excuse that, but I think I'm kind of in agreement with everything else you said. Christian, anything else? Christian, what do you make of this situation? Should he be fired?
It's a disgrace. He should be fired, absolutely, no doubt. As a Liverpool fan, I'm embarrassed that he represented the club for so long at that point. It was really that awful. He, to me, has never seemed like the type to lose his head quite like that. Even when we were watching him playing, even watching him as a pundit for all these years. But you see people in their personal lives aren't exactly what you see them on TV or when you're watching them, I guess. So if Andy Gray is going to get fired for sexist comments, this is equally as despicable to me that he did this act, and he really should be fired for that.
So I don't know the full Andy Gray story. Did he make those comments while on air and in his job?
Yeah, he was at the job when he made them.
Okay, so I think that factors into it. But going back to the Carragher thing, so it doesn't factor in for you in any way that, like you said, he's never had an incident like this. You think one mistake and he should just be fired?
This is a bad mistake. This is really a next level disgusting type of thing that he did. And yeah, he should not be allowed back.
Okay. I agree. It's absolutely deplorable and despicable, but I struggle so much with the body of his work, and throughout his career after his playing career, he's never had an incident like this. And so, yeah, it's really terrible. He obviously made a huge mistake, but for him to lose his job and all credibility and everything like that, I think for me is a bit harsh. And I don't think he should be fired. I think a suspension, I think, the public backlash that's already been coming against him definitely should continue. And, you know, I think it was a moment of weakness, and especially in this age where everybody's got a cell phone and everybody is a reporter and a journalist and can capture every single moment of weakness. I think that, you know, with him being constantly egged on, I can understand that he was pushed to a breaking point. I think that what he did was just terrible, and I'm not trying to defend it in any way, but I just don't think that one mistake and he's just completely out of a job. That's just my perspective on it.
But for me, he's in a Matt.
No. Go ahead, Christian.
For me, he's in a role right now where he is in the spotlight, and yes, it was a horrible thing that he did. But even if he loses this job, I think Liverpool will hire him as a coach. I think it would absolutely happen. He will not have a big issue finding another job. And yeah, it might come with some backlash. Even if he is hired by Liverpool, people will be like, why would they hire him? But I don't think that him being out of a job is really that big of a deal. Like, I don't think that should be the reason why you find it. You're
okay with him losing his job, but you're okay with him getting another job. So like, I just like, how does the punishment, is it just that he just loses his current job? Like, what if he was hired by BT?
He's always going to have that on him now. Like, he's always going to have that reputation, and people are going to remember this. Okay.
Well, exactly.
And I think he should be fired from his current job because he is in the limelight. He's supposed to be representing all of soccer. Like, he is the one reporting on all the games. And yeah, he isn't impartial, but he's supposed to be. And the fact that he reacted that way to someone just talking about United is ridiculous.
Okay, so you're bothered because it was impartial. So for you, if he was hired as another pundit or as another journalist or something like that, you would have an issue with that?
I think I would, yeah.
Okay, but you're fine with him getting another job maybe in the soccer world. Okay, Matt, other thoughts, Ed?
Yeah, I don't think this takes away anything for me, like for him as a pundit. Like, I don't think he knows less about soccer because he spit on somebody making fun of him because of the Liverpool United game. Like, I would still listen to him just the same. It's like musicians go to like get in trouble with the law. I still listen to their music. Like, athletes get in trouble. Like, I still support athletes that have been in like legal trouble. It's like, I don't see how this is going to affect his job. Like, so that's why. And my view of him, it's like, I don't have to like him. Just tell me about soccer. You know a lot about it.
Yeah, and I think I kind of fall more in that camp, and, you know, again, not agreeing with anything that he did, but again, he still is knowledgeable. Everything that he's done in the past shouldn't be completely wiped out because of one mistake that he made. He's still very knowledgeable. He's a good pundit, and he hopefully will learn from this, and this will never happen again. And hopefully people never forget it, and people shouldn't forget it. But I still am not in the camp that he should just automatically lose his job because of this. So, Christian, anything else you want to add?
All right. I'm not saying that I want him to lose his job because he actually does a very good job at what he does. Like, yep. I have watched him. But he's not going to learn from this if you let it go, and other people might follow suit. Like, you need to teach someone not to do something. Like, you have to have some type of punishment. And yeah, it doesn't mean he has to lose his job, but maybe he's suspended and can't come back on the air for months. Like, the rest of the season, he's not allowed back on.
Okay. So he is
There's got to be some type of... Yeah, I know he's suspended right now, but that's I think it's indefinite right now, but we don't know what that's going to mean.
Okay. And all this public backlash against him, you don't think that is punishment enough along with the suspension?
Well, I think it is a length of suspension that's going to be
the difference maker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. You know, I can't really argue that. So with that'll bring us to the end of our first segment here. You're going to hear a little bit more music. We're going to check on Christian, make sure he's okay, and we'll be right back with you. Talk to you soon. You all right over there?
I'm okay.
Yeah? What's going on?
I had 2 water bottles, and I knocked into one, and I hit the other one, and I hit my elbow.
All right. Well, okay. That's enough of that. All right. I didn't write down exactly what Matt said. I know he said that'll make soccer more interesting. Was that the line?
Soccer's about to get more interesting.
Soccer's about to get
I think I said soccer's about to get a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I'll double check it, but yeah, that's a good one. All right. Cool. Any questions? Any issues? Nobody's here. Sad face. Nobody's here watching. Just us gabbing. Couple of hens clucking. All right.
Well, I don't give a cluck.
Yeah, it's late at night.
You know, chickens don't give a cluck.
Oh, yeah. What's going on? No. What? I already did that. I was doing our intro.
Starting over?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's redo that whole first segment.
Welcome, friends.
Welcome.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to our second segment. Jumping right into things, and let's talk about Oscar's recent comments. So Oscar, the Brazilian midfielder, recently came out and was quoted as saying, let me pull up the exact quote. Basically, he said, quote, "I don't care if I go to the World Cup or not. I'm only criticized for coming to China. I personally think of my family and my future. I don't want to get poor when I am old and live on memories that I played in the World Cup." End quote. So, Christian, what do you make of Oscar basically saying that, you know, he's setting his family up for generational wealth in the long term and kind of foregoing maybe his own personal success, you know, in his playing career and glory? What do you think about that?
I know some people, such as yourself, may respect what he's doing. It absolutely makes me sick. I understand because he's going to set his family up for financial wealth playing in England, where he was. If he went to Spain, he'd be doing the same thing. Germany, Italy. He is good enough to be representing teams at that level in those countries on the grandest stage, making the World Cup. And I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, financial stability goes a long way. But if I was an old man, I would have much preferred having those memories of playing in the World Cup in my brain. Me personally, that is what I prefer. And so it's hard for me to understand fully what he's saying. I can't relate to it, but I can understand why he would do what he's doing. But I still think it's selling out when you are wasting some of your best years playing for teams that, no offense, are not at the level that a player of his quality could be representing.
Matt, your thoughts here on Oscar's comments?
I mean, I'm not really mad at him for it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's making like 5 or 6 times more than he was making at Chelsea. Like, that's still a lot of money, Christian. Like, of course he would have a lot of money, but a couple million isn't the same as, you know, getting closer to 100 million from doing this for a couple years. Like, that's generational wealth. So, like, I'm not mad at him for it. He already played in a World Cup in his own country. Like, if he already experienced it and it wasn't what I guess he thought it would be for his dreams, like, he's already experienced it. It's not like he's saying, like, I don't care. At least he went to a World Cup. I guess at this point in his career, like, he knows what he wants. So I'm not, like, mad at him for it. And it's not like it's like Neymar, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just Oscar. Like, it's not like the game's not losing. The game's not losing too much.
So, like, okay, well, then let's frame it that way. So if Neymar did this, Matt, would you have a problem with him?
I mean, I wouldn't, but like, it would suck for the game. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, you know, then it's not the best players aren't playing against each other.
Okay, and I think Christian is kind of saying that to an extent.
That's what I was saying. Like, I was saying that, like, for Christian's point of view. Like, I get that.
Yeah, and I just think it's slightly hypocritical that these guys, like, that we would say that we would turn down 5 to 6 times our pay right now. Well, you know, I maybe my old salary.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna make $0?
Yeah, I know.
6 times as much as you do.
Exactly. So it may not apply to me, but say I was still in my old regular real job, and you know, it was, you know, if somebody came around and offered me 5 times what I was making, it's incredibly tough to turn that down, because even at my relatively lower salary, that's still an insane amount of money for me. And that's not even talking about, you know, what we're talking about here, where he was making, I don't know, maybe 5 million at Chelsea, and now he's making 30 million a year. I don't know what the exact numbers are.
I think he was making, I think he was making £70,000 a week at Chelsea, and now he's making £400,000.
Okay. So whatever that translates to, I can't do quick maths, but whatever that translates to in whatever that translates to in an annual salary. I mean, he's making that. And so you're talking about serious amounts of money that you can do a ton with investments, and you can do a ton with, you know, financial businesses and all kinds of things like that. And so I just think it's hypocritical for us to say, oh, the players should always just take a salary hit when somebody else is offering them what is offering them a ridiculous salary. So that's just where I fall on that front. Christian, anything else to add?
No.
Yeah, I think we just disagree on it, and so
I really just I have a tough time agreeing. I think it's hurting the game in the long run, and I think it shows a lack of ambition on his part because he's not trying to make a name for himself and become an elite player. But I understand your point of view as well, but I think he's not challenging himself, and he's not attempting to reach the pinnacle of his career.
But he is in a different way. It's what you define as the pinnacle of your career. Some people define the pinnacle of their career as their earning potential. And so if he's maximizing his value in what he's earning, it may not be
in the sports world. The pinnacle of your career is being remembered when you retire for a long time. He'll never be that.
Maybe his goal is to be on podcasts.
All right. Well, there you go.
Right.
I have nothing to say to that.
All right. Let's switch gears. Let's go back over to Europe and talk about Alexis Sanchez. And so Raphael Honigstein on the Totally Football show recently revealed that basically the entire Arsenal dressing room disliked Alexis Sanchez immensely when he was at the club. And so statistics came out where after the match they would review kind of kilometers covered during the match and all kinds of different statistics to show how hard players were trying. And consistently, Alexis Sanchez was always scored at the bottom, even though during matches, he was very demonstrative. A lot of times it looked like he would always be hustling and things like that. And, it's not to say that Arsenal is in a better place now or anything like that now that he's gone, but the fact is a lot of the players did dislike him. Matt, what did you make of hearing this story? Do you think there's any knock-on effects maybe at Manchester United for him? What do you think?
Well, I'm not really surprised by this article because, the entire year he was basically just in the news for bashing Arsenal and just wanting to get out. So if constantly hearing that, all the interviews, after every game, after every match, they were, being asked where's Alexis going? And eventually that's just got to be annoying that, one of your star players doesn't want to be there and he's not putting the effort in. So I would understand that they didn't like him. I'm not, and I don't know what his personality's like, so maybe they didn't get along that way. But if he's, not performing and wanting to leave, I could see why you wouldn't like him.
Do you think there's any issues with him at United now? And not to kind of theorize on what's going on in the locker room or whatever, but just hearing this story, do you think that there's going to be any impact on him in the United locker room?
I don't think it's gonna be too bad because they're not gonna win anything anyways.
I like that. No, I mean for me, I don't think there's gonna be a knock-on effect. I was just kind of throwing it out there. But Christian, your thoughts here on hearing this story about Alexis?
Well, I understand why they don't like him because I don't like him. I think he's an awful, awful person. Just from what I've seen in his general personality, he's mopey. When he doesn't get what he wants, he's such an asshole.
The field, from what you've seen on the field, you know nothing about him personally.
He's a horrible person on the field.
Yeah, he is. He's like Ronaldo's an awful person on the field, but he actually is a decent person off the field. I understand that.
Okay,
but
I just wanted to clarify.
How can you possibly enjoy playing with someone who acts the way that he does? I understand why Arsenal players don't like him. I can only imagine that during training, he thought he was better than everyone else, and he probably just strolled around. He didn't want to be there in the first place. I absolutely see this continuing on to Manchester United. I can't see a situation where it doesn't happen. He has been absolutely atrocious there so far and has no right to act that way. But that might just be who he is, especially on the field. That is just what we see. And when you get that point of view, he even does it at United already. He's not established himself. There are many articles about how he's underperforming. The fans are already turning on him and saying that was a waste of money. And I know it's a short-lived transfer so far, so he may turn good. But he has got to change that way. Because even when he first went to Barcelona, you didn't really see that from him. When he went to Arsenal for the first time, he didn't really seem that way. He just seems to have built up this ego because of the hype that he generated about himself. That is really, really detrimental to both the locker room, the training facility, everyone around the club, and the fans. And even fans outside of that organization just genuinely do not like him.
I really don't have much else to add. I mean, yeah, I think you guys hit a lot of the same points. I mean, I will say that Neymar behaves in a lot of the similar ways, like at PSG. So, do you have any?
Absolutely don't like him.
Okay, Matt.
No, you just brought up Neymar. I completely. Did you see the Bleacher Report thing today that came out of what he's requesting?
I did.
No.
He wants what, $1 billion or something? It was something, or $1 million a week, right?
Yeah, I want $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants $1 million a week.
Yeah,
from who?
Absurd.
From PSG.
From PSG.
Yeah.
Wait, where did that come from? Just what does he make now? Doesn't he make an absurd amount?
He makes like 400 right now, I think, something like that.
I think he makes 5 something.
5, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wants to almost double his salary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is any of that confirmed? So we'll have to like.
I know, but Bleacher. I mean,
you could see that he doesn't want to be there either. Like he wants to go either back to Barca or Madrid. That's like clearly in his mind.
All
or
right.
City.
Yeah. So these players
Yeah,
are
totally City.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's. I mean, I guess you understand it to an extent, but it's completely unrelatable for us to imagine that because of the way we behave, and you want to treat people the way that you want to be treated, but also there's an element of they got to where they are because they're selfish, and would they be the same types of players if they weren't that way? So I don't really know. So with that, let's keep it rolling to last topic we wanted to cover in this section. UCL. UEFA Champions League draw came out, and we wanted to do a quick preview here. So let me pull it up real quick. We have United. Nope, United got knocked out. Sorry, didn't mean to rub that in. That was not intentional. In all honesty, Barcelona versus Roma, Sevilla versus Bayern, Juve versus Real Madrid, and Liverpool City. Guys, what is the matchup you're most looking forward to here, Christian?
Wow. Well, I wonder which one I'd be looking forward to the most. Well, obviously, I'm looking forward to the Liverpool City game. I think when you have two teams from the same country playing against each other, it's always going to be a fiery game. And these two teams are the most attacking English teams there are, and they are so much fun to watch, both of them. I really enjoy, even though they have very different styles. I think that it's going to be a very close tie. I know a lot of people are favoring City pretty significantly. I don't think it's going to be that way. From what I've seen, that's what
I didn't realize.
Yeah, they are. But over 2 legs, you really don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, City are a better team. I have no doubts about that. But Liverpool are set up to play against a team like City, as we saw at the game at Anfield. So it's going to be really, really interesting tactics. And with the other games, Sevilla Bayern seems like it's going to be a blowout. Like that's just how it is.
Rank them in order for me. So you're most looking forward to Liverpool.
So Liverpool City, absolutely. I think the one after that would be Juve Madrid. I think the last year's Champions League final absolutely is going to be a high-flying affair. I think that Juve aren't as strong as they were last year. I don't think Real Madrid are as strong as they were last year. So it'll be an interesting tie there. After that, I would say Barca versus Roma. They're 2 pretty known teams. I mean, it's whatever. But I think that Sevilla Bayern game is just so irrelevant that people are already writing it off. So yeah, I would say Liverpool face City. Juve face Real Madrid, Barcelona face Roma, Sevilla face Bayern, and Manchester United face the television.
Yeah, that was good. Matt, so I know we're probably all looking to City Liverpool the most. Matt, do you want to give thoughts on that, and then maybe the other matchups if you have a couple quick thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think Tottenham, or I'm not Tottenham. Boom roasted. I think Juve.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I didn't even do that. Juve, Real Madrid.
Also, Chelsea's not there.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we're doing this. Yeah. Wow. Sorry. Yeah, Real Madrid, Juventus. I think that's probably going to be the best matchup of all the draws. Yeah. Sorry, but I really don't think it's going to be close between us.
All right, that's interesting. I personally do.
What's not going to be close?
The City Liverpool draw. I really don't see it. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there. What's it called? And then, the other one's
gonna beat them that badly.
Yeah. If we get Mendy back, you guys are screwed. If Mendy plays,
I'm really not concerned.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other ones, like I think Bayern's gonna get through, Barca's gonna get through, City, and then I think Madrid's gonna get through, but the Madrid God damn it, Madrid Juventus is the only one that I think is going to be, close.
I find that so interesting that you're not worried at all about Liverpool, given that Liverpool did just beat City, a couple of months ago, and I think Liverpool is playing even better than they were back then, and so I think that there's definitely going to be a tight matchup. I think so. I don't have really anything else to add. I think Barca Bayern should cruise. I think everybody's kind of underestimating Sevilla. Sevilla is not a bad team, and they're exceptionally good in knockout rounds. So I think that's going to end up being closer than people give them credit for. And so people shouldn't sleep on Sevilla because I think that they could give Bayern a run, but really the reality of the situation is Bayern should get through there. And then the Real Juve game matchup should be fantastic. And then I'm obviously looking forward to Liverpool City. So I don't really have anything else to add. Christian, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just want to say that the top 4 teams in Europe that I would say right now are all separate. And we might be seeing a really, really interesting semifinal if all 4, Barca, Bayern, Madrid, and City all get through. Don't hope that happens, but it would be very interesting to see the 4 best teams actually all in the semifinal together.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. So that brings us to the end of our second segment. We're going to hear a little bit more music, and then we will talk to you in our third segment. Talk to you soon. All right.
How can you possibly think it's not going to be close?
Yeah, are you just saying that?
The teams in the same country, honestly, always are close. I've never seen a tie ever be blown out.
Yeah, I'm just watching. I'm saying, just watch.
Okay, I'm even more fired up to watch Liverpool knock them out. Oh my god! I want to wipe that smug smile.
Are you guys going to be together? Because that would be fantastic if we could get you guys together for that.
I'll probably be in
for the
school.
Final.
Yeah, when are they playing?
For the quarterfinals?
Yeah, I don't even know.
On Wednesdays and Tuesdays in the middle of April or in the beginning of April.
Beginning of April? All right. I didn't know whenever the hell Matt gets done.
Matt gets done in May like all other regular college students.
It's been a while, all right? It's been a while. I don't remember.
I'm so old.
I don't remember so good.
I remember. But I'd be down to FaceTime for that.
Yeah, or do this hangout. We could
That's what I mean. Yeah. Although you're going to be delayed, so it's going to be real on the wing.
Yeah. That's a good point. That would suck. All right. I don't know. Maybe we can't. You guys ready to do our last segment here?
Or we could all record it and not pay attention to what's happening and then watch it later.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Matt lives on social media.
True.
Welcome back, everyone, to our third and final segment. We're talking about the U.S. now, and we're actually going to skew a little bit more towards the women's game in this section. I know a lot of times we don't talk about it, but we have a couple stories kind of going on that I wanted to talk about here. So the first one is in the NWSL, which is the American League, largely kind of regarded as one of the best women's leagues in the world. At this point, I think some of the European leagues are starting to really make ground, but the NWSL has some of the best players in the world. Kristen Press is one of the best U.S. players, and over the break, she was traded to the Houston Dash, basically without her consent. And, if you've listened to this podcast in the past, we've talked about American players being traded, and that's just the way sports work over here. They don't necessarily need to give their consent before they're joining another team, which is very different from the way it works overseas. And Kristen Press is basically just holding firm and just not reporting to camp, saying she doesn't want to go there. She's not going to go. And Houston is stuck with, they traded some of their assets for her. Like, that's already done, and this player basically isn't coming. So, Matt, what do you make of the standoff? I don't know who's right, who's wrong. How do you see this all playing out?
I don't get how this is an unsolvable situation. I feel like the league should have a rule that says like the trade, if the trade isn't finalized, the trade has to be finalized if the player agrees. If a player doesn't report, then how is it fair? It's just kind of a weird situation. I also saw at the time it said she didn't really have an agent, and that's just surprising considering how big of an athlete she is if she's on the women's national team. So I thought that was just a weird situation. But the fact that the league doesn't have a rule of or a way to fix it or give the assets back, I don't get how that makes sense.
Yeah, well, as far as the agent's concerned, I mean, if you feel you can handle your own business and don't have to pay an agent fee or anything like that, I mean, you can make more money. I know Chris Wondolowski, the San Jose Earthquakes player, he never had an agent. I want to say Paul Scholes famously never had an agent. There are other players that haven't had an agent, so it's slightly odd, but it's not completely unheard of. So I did just want to throw that out. Christian, what do you make of this whole situation?
I think it's absurd that players don't have any right to decide where they want to end up. I think that is wrong, but it is the way that American sports is run right now. And she really has no place to say she's not going unless she's retiring and not going to play anymore. Like, that's just how I see it.
So, I mean, yeah, so there's an element of like, so the way that the league works, this is possible. And so there are players that have no trade clauses, and there are ways that players can enforce this happening, but Kristen didn't have any of those things. And so for her to just say that she's not going, I get that she feels like she has more rights, but the reality is, like, this is what she agreed to by joining the league. And so there are other leagues overseas that she can go and play in. So this is only affects her as far as playing in America. So there is that element. But, you know, the reality of the situation is she did agree to this by signing a contract here and all of that. And yes, I want to see players get more rights, and I think that she should have more rights, but she did agree to this by signing a contract here. And so, you know, I find it hard to side with her in this situation because of that situation.
Players.
Matt?
You probably should have had an agent then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a really good point. Matt, Christian, you were going to say something?
Well, yeah, so they definitely should have an agent, but also, damn it, I forget my point.
Yeah, it's
damn
right.
it.
Right.
Oh, it was really good too.
I'm sure it was fantastic. I'm sure it'll come back to you. Yeah, I'm sure it was. So yeah, I mean, hopefully as the men get more rights in MLS and that league continues to grow, that'll trickle down and flow over to the women's game, and you hope, you know, all of that kind of happens as well. Christian, you remembered your point?
Holy shit! How did I? Oh, okay. Yeah, when you sign a professional contract in America, you sign with the league first, correct? Like, that is the first thing you sign before you sign with a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
You sell your soul.
Yeah.
Depends. It depends on the league, but yes, in MLS and NWSL, yes.
Yeah. So, like, that is something she knew. Like, she knew what she was getting into, and if she didn't know what she was getting into, we go back to that. Well, you should have had an agent because they're reviewing the contracts for you.
Yeah, well, and just to clarify, that's not how all leagues work. So MLS is single entity, which is a little bit different. So it means that it is one league, and basically all of the teams are franchises and are basically divisions of the league. Other leagues like the NFL and NBA, they are independently owned companies that just agree to work together. And so you do sign a contract with individual teams in those leagues. But NWSL and MLS are, I believe, both single entity. So you do sign with the league. And so in that case, you're absolutely correct. Matt, anything else to add here?
No. I think you guys got it.
Okay, sticking in the women's soccer world, but going internationally now, Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, recently came out and said he was interested in putting together plans to launch a FIFA Global Nations League for the 16 best women's teams around the world. So right now, basically the top 5 or so women's teams are just a lot better than the rest of the world. And so his goal is to basically make the rest of the world more competitive. The games would start in basically November, and they would be somewhat regionalized. So they would have regional leagues. And again, it would just help. So the regional leagues would be 4 regional leagues, so with 4 teams, and they would basically play a mini tournament with the teams advancing to the next stage, kind of similar to what's going on in the men's side, but maybe a little bit smaller scale. So, Christian, what did you make of this idea? It actually, so just to clarify, it ended up getting shot down when he presented it rather recently, but I think it's still on the cards and something that he eventually wants to implement. Christian, please stop rubbing your microphone. What do you think?
I don't.
Okay. What do you think about this Global Nations League?
I think it's a really, really good idea. I think it should be implemented. The men are doing it, and I think it's only going to help improve the overall quality of all of the teams. I think competing against the best is only going to make you better, and it really should be implemented. I think that it'll make the sport more popular if they have a league like this where they're more represented all the time and they're having more competitive matches. Yeah, we saw in America, they just had that tournament for, I forget what it was called. Do you remember what it's called?
She Believes Cup.
She Believes Cup, yeah. So that's one way that they're already providing a tournament where you get to see the best teams. But again, that's only the best teams. I think if you have 16, if you have 32 women's leagues, women's nations that are represented by their women in soccer,
yes,
that it would help just create a more competitive atmosphere, because it seems like the same teams always are competing at the World Cup and the Olympics.
But does that diminish the World Cup and the Olympics then, if this tournament is basically going to be going on either every year or every other year?
I don't think it really will diminish it. I think it'll actually add something to it. And I think if you make this kind of regionalized event part of qualifying, then that could only improve it overall.
Yeah, but I don't think that is the way that this is being presented. So if they were to do that, then it would make it more interesting for you.
I still think it would be interesting to watch, and I think people would tune into it. And yeah, it would take away a little bit from the World Cup and the Olympics, but the World Cup and the Olympics are still the pinnacle of the sport and something that is a huge spectacle. So I still think it wouldn't damage that too much.
Matt, what do you think about the Women's Nation League, 16-team Women's Nation League?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea because it's a lot like different than what they're doing now, and I think the popularity with women's soccer is coming from the national teams. So I think like that's just going to help grow the sport by like seeing them play a lot more is going to get like people more interested, like more hyped more often about, the women's soccer team. So I thought that was a great idea, that it would be like a more common like support of these teams, because like they're not, it's like not nowhere as big as like the guys' popularity like throughout the world. So like I think like taking advantage of what they're good at is something that they should pursue.
Yeah, taking advantage of what's already popular, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And I don't really have anything else to add beyond that. I mean, I think that, like Matt, you brought up a great point. I think the national team in the women's game, generally speaking, is more popular than at the club level. Yeah. And so if you can kind of capitalize on that, I think that's a great idea. The only thing for me is just logistically, how do you make this actually work? If it's every year or every other year, getting, huge travel costs, there's huge costs involved. And so, just getting all of the logistics sort of worked out, I think would be the biggest hurdle. But I really like the idea if they can execute it. Christian, anything else you wanted to add?
Matt, you and I are doing really well today. Dave keeps saying, I don't have much else to add.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep this thing moving along.
Covering everything.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I talk a lot, so I'm trying to give you guys credit and talk less.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad
you're just doing a really good job today.
Exactly. All right. Last thing we wanted to talk about, switching back over to the men's game, but sticking in North America. CONCACAF Champions League is set. The semifinals are set. We have New York Red Bulls versus Chivas Guadalajara and Toronto FC versus Club America, if I want to get Latin with my pronunciations. And so those two semifinals are set. Matt, what do you make of MLS and Liga MX going head-to-head in the CONCACAF Champions League? Basically, this is the first year that MLS really is challenging and competing with Liga MX. Does it bode well for the CONCACAF Champions League's future and all of that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think making it more competitive is better for American soccer, and of course better for the overall like spectacle of the CONCACAF Champions League, seeing teams from other countries, and then maybe these other countries develop their teams a little bit more, and eventually they'll get up to the level that like we're at, and Mexico's even a little bit ahead of us. But seeing like hope in that Mexico's always going to win, I think that's just good for all of CONCACAF, and for like your typical fan, seeing not just the same teams win, that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know how much it is, so I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't know how beneficial it is for the other teams in CONCACAF, but I think it's great for Liga MX and MLS to be fighting against each other and be legitimately competing against one another. Christian, your thoughts on this semifinal and what it means for the future?
Why are you shaking your head?
Because you are making so much noise with your microphone, but please continue.
I really am not even moving much. I don't understand.
Matt, can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Come on. What do you think of Christian, what do you think of the CONCACAF Champions League and its future?
I think that MLS teams doing well is only going to improve the overall quality of the competition. I think that having both Mexican teams and American teams competing against each other at a high level is going to both improve the club level teams and hopefully build money and build popularity, and on a world stage maybe it'll get more views even from Europe, from Asia, from South America. People will actually tune in to watch the CONCACAF Champions League. I know it'll never, well, I'm not gonna say never, but for a very, very long time we'll never compete with the UEFA Champions League. But having teams from Canada and America competing against teams from Mexico only helps the national level, helps the club level, of all countries or all clubs involved. And I think it's going to go a long way, because I know even when we were talking to Mark, he said America still dominates the region, which I don't know if you remember, you never really corrected him, but
No, I know.
Mexico has been dominating this region for so long in terms of overall quality of the clubs and in the CONCACAF Champions League. It's awesome. And I think that the playoff actually has helped us, because it helps us for one-off games, for two-legged games. And that can go a long way. I think that Toronto, and I don't think the Red Bulls have what it takes to beat both of those teams, or to even beat Toronto right now. I don't think that they're the best team in the MLS. I think Toronto is the best team in the MLS, and having them in the semifinal is a great representation. And I know they're from Canada, but they have American players, obviously, and they have a lot of world star players. So if they can win this competition, it will go a long way for both the MLS and I think U.S. soccer and CONCACAF soccer.
Yeah, and I think it ultimately helps Liga MX, because a competitive Champions League is only going to drive more interest from fans, more money into the game from sponsors and all of that. And I'm really excited about what the future holds. This is the first year I've kind of really tried to get into the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League. It also helps that I get Unimas or Univision. I can't remember what channel exactly, but I can watch a lot of the matches. And so I think that has certainly helped. But I'm really, really excited that this seems to be picking up momentum, and I'm excited for next year's edition and really to watch the end of this year's, because I think it's only going to grow and keep getting better from here. Matt, anything else you wanted to add?
So when is the submission for to finalize your squad for the CONCACAF Champions League? Because is it like the same squad basically as your MLS, or is it have to be submitted before and people can come? Because it's Vanderbilt and
they're in there.
Are these okay?
Yeah, so the CONCACAF Champions League went through a reboot over this upcoming this season, and so it basically started in February, and so I assume your roster had to be submitted sometime in February, and maybe you could have some flex spots.
Okay.
Yeah. Christian, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Matt, anything you want to add on any other topics we've talked about today?
No, thanks, Dave.
Christian, what about you?
No, I think I'm good, but how about you?
Oh, no, I'm great as well. Do you want to recap our trivia question, and we will give our guesses?
I would love to recap the trivia question.
Recap it?
Recap it. I'm going to crap it all over the place.
Okay.
So, all right. So let's recap this trivia question. I think that I don't know why I said I think that, because that's not what I meant. All right, we're going to start this over again. You want to ask me again?
I can't believe you said you were going to crap it everywhere.
Christian, do you want to recap our trivia question for the listeners, and we will give our answers?
Dave, I would love to recap the trivia question this week. The trivia question this week was, who has given the ball away or turned it over more times than anyone else in one single Champions League match?
Okay, I have my guess. Matt, you want to give yours?
Alexis Sanchez of Manchester United.
All right, my guess was going to be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Matt must know the answer, because I could tell by the smile on his face. But he has also turned it over. What?
I said of Manchester United too, which makes you know that it was recent.
That it was. Yeah. It was this week that he did it, or last week, whatever it was. But But to tag along with that, he is also the most to ever turn over a game in the Premier League and the FA Cup.
Wow. he doesn't like that ball. He likes to give it up. All right. So there you have it, listeners. Christian, that was a good trivia question. I like that. With that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. If you want to check out any of the stories we discussed on this podcast, they will be in the show notes. We'll also tweet them out from our Bros Talking Soccer Twitter handle, which is at BT Soccer Pod. If you want to get in contact with us, our email. What are you doing?
I don't want it to rub against anything.
Sorry. It looked like you were doing a magic trick and it was just rising. Sorry, that completely threw me off. Oh my God. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is fuck me. Come on, get it together. Get it together. All right, I gotta not look at you guys for this. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is at btsoccerpod. Our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. Go check out our website, brostalkingsoccerpodcast.com. You can check out our past episodes, read about us, and so much more. Lastly, we record this thing live on YouTube, the Bros Talking Soccer YouTube channel. We will link to that in the podcast show notes as well. Come join, interact with us while we're recording this thing live. Christian and Matt, thank you both for being here. Listeners, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week. See you, everyone. Oh, man. Whew. There you are. Oh, and you're back. Yeah, that's a funny face. Such a weirdo.
Alexis Sanchez probably turns it over so much because he's a horrible person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Must be.
I just think he's the worst person ever. All
I
right.
think he is. He might be. Next to Diego Costa.
Yeah. Anyone watching on YouTube, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you next week. See you, everyone.